Basically, look.
Well, no,
here is a shoe. It's my shoe, right? It is made in China. You talked about these luxury products.
They are.
All right, a ton of news stories happened already in the month of April, and because of this, unfortunately, we miss a lot of funny moments or random moments that does not get enough attention. So in this video, we will be going over the best CNN meltdown moments that we all missed already for the month of April. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. This is meant to just be a relaxing video, and you guys can just have a good laugh. Here we go.
The limit, okay?
All right. Scott Jennings.
Major problem, human-sized Easter bunnies.
Yeah.
It is the season. And look, I think if you want, they're demonic. And I know parents like to have their children photographed with these human-sized demonic Easter bunnies. I counsel against it. If you want to show them a regular-sized rabbit, fine. The Cadbury bunny is fine, and I'll even make an exemption for Playboy bunnies. But human-sized Easter bunnies, out. They're right out.
They're terrifying.
Terrible. You only have 2 weeks to make your plans. Easter's coming. Eliminate this from your photo regimen. Do not traumatize your children.
Absolutely no Playboy bunnies. Okay, I am sorry, but that is out. We're out.
I said exemption. I was going to criticize President Obama, but you handled it. So, thank you.
They don't pay me.
These books, first of all, seeing that video of Kamala Harris and then these videos of Tim Walz the last few days, man, did we dodge a bullet. Lord have mercy. These books coming out.
Walking into the fire right now,
These
Scott.
books coming out. It can all be told now. I mean, I sat here all during the campaign and was assured Joe Biden was fine. Kamala Harris had the most organic, grassroots-driven campaign. The Democrats were unified. We had a campaign of joy. And everything was hunky-dory. That's what I was told night after night after night. And now all the books are coming out, and it's amazing because a lot of the people who were telling those lies are now going to get paid to write those books.
I think a lot of people,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so should his advisors. I mean, talk about a big cover-up. I mean, we've been talking a lot about Donald Trump lately. I just want to ask a simple question. Who in the heck was running the country? If the president's mental acuity was in question and some days he's on and some days he's off, was the guy really capable of doing the job day to day? I honestly really question that. And I think a lot of Democrats who said at the time, oh, Joe Biden is the fittest guy in the world. He could do backflips. He could jump into the pool, run marathons, do 100 push-ups. When every freaking person who saw Joe Biden said, there's no in hell this guy is physically fit. But they told us, don't believe your lying eyes because we're with him every single day. That wasn't true.
One more piece,
it wasn't true.
Just so people understand it.
That is horrific, but we don't do a good job of telling that.
Don't you think your party needs to acknowledge that President Biden was not up for the job of running for re-election and that this was a major mistake by the
He made
Democrats?
that decision.
I know, but you all went along with the idea that he
decision.
was up for it, and he wasn't. And everybody saw it, and the country rejected it.
Yeah, well, look, history will tell us to go back on that. That very well could be the case, Jake. What I'm concerned about is learning from those lessons. I would hope we would never do it again, make a mistake, make sure we go through and get someone. But I don't know where it helps us going forward. I certainly am deeply concerned that Donald Trump is going to lead us down a horrific. Look, thank God it's tariff city, said. Donald Trump listens to no one. Remember, Donald Trump has statements about, I don't think nuclear war would be that bad. I guess we're lucky that he went after tariffs instead of that route. Yeah. We have an issue in this country that is going to impact us. And if there is not...
Well, yeah, I mean, elections are ultimately about choices. They aren't, you don't have them in a vacuum. And I would just argue back to Kamala Harris that, I told you so. I agree. I told you so. Donald Trump was going to close the southern border. I told you so. He was going to bring order to immigration. I told you so. He was going to drag this country out of the left-wing cultural ditch and put us back towards more mainstream, middle-of-the-road.
You think he's done the last thing?
I did tell you so. Now, he's also executing, as you all have acknowledged, his economic agenda, just as he said he was going to do. He's enacting tariffs, and he's asking the Congress to make the tax cuts permanent, and he's unleashing American energy. So I agree. It is I told you so, and about half the country is okay with it, and about half the country voted for it. So it strikes me that this is a healthy level of copium going on right now among Democrats who are telling themselves stories that the people who voted for this are not happy with it. The vast majority, if not everyone who voted for Donald Trump, is some level of happiness ranging from 9 to 10 on the happiness scale.
Holy Toledo. Voters' views of the Democrats in Congress among all voters disapprove 68%. And look at the approved number, just 21%, even lower than the Democratic Party at large. This is the lowest on record for Democrats, according to Quinnipiac University polling. You think these numbers are bad? Let's go to this side of the screen. We'll look how Democratic voters feel. Get this. The plurality of Democratic voters disapprove of Democrats in Congress at 49%, and just 40% approve. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Oh my goodness gracious, you just can't get worse than these numbers.
In this disclaimer, this next clip was at the very end of March, but I did not get to put it in my March montage, so I have to put it in the April one. This is an intense meltdown, probably one of the best I've ever seen on CNN in a very long time.
Yeah, and I do have questions about the veterans, but given what we saw with the group chat and how this was used, you are a member of the cabinet. You obviously know these other members, several of them who were in there. Is this typical for the cabinet to have conversations over Signal? Is this something that you use?
Well, Kaylin, as soon as you undoubtedly do not want to talk about the VA, I have a question as VA Secretary. As Cabinet, I want to ask you, because I've been curious about this, because my job is to take care of veterans, and I would like to know why CNN is hostile to veterans, especially one in Florida, where you just had a $5 million defamation suit taking offense at a veteran who was trying to help people. In fact, one of your employees actually said, we're going to nail him. I have a question for you, Kaylin. Is that employee still employed? Are you really concerned about veterans? So if we don't want to talk about veterans now, you want to talk about everything else, I'd like to hear from CNN as the Veteran Cabinet Secretary why CNN seems to have a problem with veterans.
Well, Mr. Secretary, respectfully, my question was about whether or not you as a member of the cabinet use this. And respectfully, I'm conducting the investigation. And I do have a lot of questions for you on Veterans Affairs, but I don't think it would be unwarranted to ask
What you want to do is
talk
about a subject that I've already answered. And if you want to continue this like this, that's fine. But there are VA employees who are working very hard. There are veterans who get their care from the VA and they get their benefits from the VA. And it does me no good to speculate on something that I've already asked and answered. So I've asked and answered your question. Why don't you answer mine? Are you still, is this person still employed who said they were going to nail one of my veterans? Who you had to do a $5 million award from a jury because of defamation, and then you settled the case. Answer my question.
Respectfully, sir, I'm asking the questions here, and I have no involvement in what you're referencing there.
Another very quick disclaimer. Here is a Jasmine Crockett clip. Was not able to use it in the March montage, so here we go for April.
Country. They don't care about public safety. They don't care about emergency management, and they don't care about free speech, all of which are harming American people. In fact, I'm going to skip off real quick because they have tried to come for you, Ms. Mayor, and I just want to clarify. You did not work for NPR when those statements were made, did you?
That is correct, Madam
And to be clear, free speech is not about whatever it is that y'all want somebody to say. And the idea that you want to shut down everybody that is not Fox News is bullshit. We need to stop playing because that's what y'all are doing in here. You don't want to hear the opinions of anybody else. And the Constitution says Congress shall make no law respecting or establishing of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the...
Go back to Elon Musk for a second, because, I mean, it is true that he spent $20 million on affiliated groups that were involved in this race. Is it a risk for Republicans to put all their eggs in that basket? Not only did he spend the money, he came to the state. Right. He came to the state. He talked about cutting Medicaid, Social Security through DOGE. Bringing those issues up.
Actually, he never talked. He explicitly said in Green Bay that he would not cut Social Security.
Well,
that's exactly what he said.
Talked at his rallies.
No, other people said about that, but I was there. I watched him. Okay. He did not say he was going to cut Medicaid.
Other people at his rallies who work for DOGE, who work for Elon Musk's organization, talked about those issues.
No, I was at the rally. Not one of them said that. That's what protesters said, but nobody there actually said that.
Do you think that there are risks here?
There are. If people believe the lies that people are saying about that. But that's not at all what they said. If people believe that Medicaid and Medicare is going to be touched, that's just a flat, outright lie. What he talked about are people who are over 120 years old who clearly are not alive.
Well, the reason I brought it up is
Social Security or Medicare.
Okay, well,
that's totally wrong. I think
just to sort this out, the reason I brought this up is because the claim here is that there's massive, widespread fraud and that that's all they're addressing. That's obviously a disputed claim because it's not true that 120-year-old people are getting Social Security checks. The checks stop at a certain point automatically because those checks and
But those
balances
Social Security
are already
numbers
in place.
get counted for various parts of the federal government. So they don't get a benefit directly to those people, but they count for money that gets allocated to different departments in their budget. And they shouldn't be. If somebody's no longer alive, they shouldn't be able to count that
I
as
guess
an
my
allocation.
fundamental question was, what are the risks here of Elon dabbling in elections for Republicans going forward?
Well, again, I think in the end, he's going to have to continue to make the case. Part of the reason why when we talked about our recall, what flipped things for us early on in that recall process, Time magazine called me Dead Man Walker. And the reason was because all the narratives coming out from the press, coming out from the left, were about all these horrible, egregious things. Once we started to give examples of the things we were actually doing, not the things the press said, not the things that our opponents said, but the things that we were actually doing, when we ended up going before the voters in the final election in the recall, we actually won by more votes than we did. So I think that what's paramount for him or anyone else aligned with him is keep giving actual examples of what they're doing. Set aside things like Social Security and make it abundantly clear that that's not being touched. But if there's waste, fraud, or abuse, spell it out, make the case, and bring it to the voters.
Isn't this exactly what we denounce other countries for doing? Not giving our own citizens, when they get wrongfully detained around the world, our own citizens the due process that they deserve?
Well, I think multiple things could be true. Number one, I delineate between American citizens and everyone else. If you're a U.S. citizen, I put you in a different category.
On due process, that's not a distinction that the law makes.
Then if you've come here and broken our laws and committed violent acts or murdered and raped and whatever, I put you in a different category.
When it comes to the law and due process, that is not a distinction.
Well, if you'd like to argue that Trinidad or Aragua should have the same rights and that you get as an American citizen, go ahead.
Change the Constitution. Hold on a second. The argument is
you're saying that a terrorist can walk across the border and become effectively a U.S. citizen?
That's not what I'm saying.
Hold on. Scott, look at me. Okay.
Yeah, let's give the host
you and I are
Welcome
talking.
back.
You and I are talking.
Respect.
Okay.
What I'm
saying to you is that the law does not make a distinction between U.S. citizens and everybody else when it comes to being accused of crimes. Are you saying that should not be in place? That if you happen to not be a citizen, you get to be thrown into a jail with no process at all?
I'm saying that these people are effectively terrorists. They walked across our borders illegally.
Okay.
They are violent. And I don't really want them
here.
But
doesn't the government have to prove that they are who they say they are?
Correct.
That's
all we're saying.
That's all.
I think.
I mean, you can say it.
Eventually,
it's not a concession that you like Trinidad and Aragua. It's just a question of the basics of civics in this country.
I think eventually the government will have to show all of its cards on everybody that they have detained, deported, or done anything to in this arena. But there is no doubt that the Trump administration is rounding up effectively terrorists who came across here illegally, committed horrific acts, and do not need to be in this country.
They are doing that, perhaps, but they're also doing a lot of other things, too. And that's why the courts are asking questions about it.
Again, a disclaimer, this video you're about to watch was posted at the very, very end of March, so I figured throw it into the April montage. It's an intense one.
Believe in accountability.
I think Republicans aren't interested in any lectures on accountability in the military after the Biden administration. I mean, the bar for getting rid of a Secretary of Defense is apparently pretty high. You can get 13 people killed and go AWOL and not tell the commander-in-chief, and that's not a fireable offense. He did his lectures about accountability and national security after letting 10 million people into the country who raped and murdered and committed violent acts, and no remorse or accountability.
What are you talking
no
about?
More lectures. No more lectures about national security.
That is a different...
This was a hugely successful mission. The decision was righteous. The strike was the exact right thing to do, and it was executed flawlessly.
He was not on that signal chain. But the idea that he didn't know about it when he was first asked about it, and the extent to which he doesn't know, seems rather deliberate.
If he didn't know, and he didn't have the facts, or he hadn't been briefed on it, what is the alternative here? To go out and make something up, or to say, I don't know, I haven't been told. And my understanding is he didn't know about it. He wasn't on it. Maybe he wasn't even aware what signal is. I mean, it is not inconceivable that the president, when I didn't see the timestamps on these questions, didn't actually have enough information to comment publicly at the time on any of these matters. It's not out of the ordinary for a president to hold back until they have all the facts or all the things they need to know to make a legitimate comment.
He has not been briefed and he can't speak to it.
I mean, what's worse, a president not having all the information he needs to make a legitimate comment, so he holds back in the moment before being ready to make a comment, or I don't know, willfully lying to the American people about the condition of the President of the United States, which went on for 4 years in this country by all of your colleagues.
Totally wrong.
That
is totally wrong. That is totally wrong.
I hope you read all the books that are coming out. I hope you read all the books that are coming out.
Joe Biden. I mean,
you guys
I don't
are
know if you're
upset
a judge.
that Trump is exhibiting some, I want to get more facts, and I'm going to be lectured by the people who lied to the American people about the condition of the president?
Oh, my God.
No way.
No, but
not going to take it.
That's, first of all, that's outrageous.
Is
That's
it?
outrageous. Yes, it is.
You think the truth was told? You think
the
truth was told?
I will say.
Did the White House tell the truth?
I will look forward to this discussion.
Do you all believe the truth was told about Biden?
Scott, do you want government or do you want your lick back? Because even if all of that happened in the past, we're in the present now. So we need a president that is capable.
And so what? He said, "I don't know." What did it hurt your life that he said, "I don't know"? One time,
Biden did it. Biden did it.
Sure,
Biden
I
did
can.
it. You
Of
cannot
course, I
ride
can.
that for 4 years.
I absolutely
and expect
can.
the country to move
I
forward.
100% can.
You cannot.
Biden wrote it for 4 years on Trump, and Obama wrote it for 8 years on George W. Bush. You're damn right. We were right here.
Well, what do you make of the criticism that one of the reasons why your party was so resoundingly rejected last November is because Democrats were gaslighting the country, saying that inflation was not a big deal, heralding Bidenomics. Not only Biden, but Kamala Harris was heralding Bidenomics, pretending that there wasn't a problem at the border. And then fundamentally, this idea that President Biden was up for another 4 years of the job, while Americans in poll after poll for year after year were saying he's too old to do the job. Your party stood against all of those things.
Look, Joe Biden coming in and doing COVID and being a governor through COVID did a hell of a job. But I think one of the things that we didn't do is we assumed that we said, and it was true, that we were going to have a soft landing and our economy was better than the rest of the world. Better for who? Better for the working class who was saying groceries were too expensive, as they are now and going up. They got to see us talk about things. Again, I go back to this. Don't talk about food insecurity or housing type of issues. Talk about people being hungry and wondering where they're going to live, or about their children's future, about real security. And so I think your question is spot on. I think we got intellectualized on this. I think the fact of the matter is Joe Biden did soft land the economy. He did usher us through COVID. None of us are saying we should be soft on the border, but we allow a vacuum, and Donald Trump fills it, the 800-pound gorilla, and their narrative starts to stick, and we look weak. We look weak like we don't care. We look like look, Jake, I'm not going to say, we need to do is we need to just arrest people and ship them to El Salvador. No, we need to invest the money on border. We need to make sure that we have the judges necessary to adjudicate things faster. We need to make sure if you're going to be in this country here legally, and when you are, you're going to be uplifted, celebrated, and part of this great American tapestry. We didn't do that, and then it fills them. They'll find the example that is horrific where you have someone who's not here legally and they commit a crime. That is horrific.
Once again, I just have to ask, can we not make any new things? But anyway, Scott.
I put a lot of thought in this tonight, and it feels like Snow White should be remade. I feel like nobody has done this lately. It came out in 1937, and I just feel like it's time that someone actually tried to do a remake of Snow White. It feels like it would be highly successful for the company that owns the intellectual property. And if they were to do it properly, I think they'd make a bajillion dollars. So I'm going to go with Snow White.
Well played. Your soft side, Scott. I didn't know you had a soft side.
Yeah, great film. I think it can be done.
You see, the live action stuff, I think, is very tricky. It's hard to make that stuff work with classics. So that's all I got to say about that.
All right, on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you are still here, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps out a ton. We'll see you guys in the next video. God bless, and we'll see you all later.